We're back. Hello once again. My name is Steve Jaguar.
And I'm Mike Foster, and we got a great show for you today. We're going to be talking cyber war, a massive AWS bill, and tool time. We'll be looking at RBAC. Welcome.
Yay. Welcome once again to your Cloud Native video newsletter for your impatient world, covering all things Kubernetes, cloud native, cybersecurity, big spenders, and generally something technical. What do we got?
Yeah. A very jam-packed, quick show, but heavy hitters today. We got some big AWS bills. I think we're both going to be demoing an RBAC tool at the end of the show. And as always, the links are in the description on YouTube. Subscribe and hit that little notification bell so that you know when we go live, which is typically every Friday at 10, unless for some reason we're in the same city, which is going to happen coming up at KubeCon.
Or you're in the UK, in which case it's 3 p.m. The world's a crazy place.
Yeah. Steve, before we get into the general news, what do you have going on in your world?
Just sweating, still doing that thing I showed last week, that little log4j thingamajigger. I'm using AWS. AWS has this platform called Jam, which like you build stuff out and it has hints and it's really quite cool, except it's not as fully featured and functional as you would like it to be. So very cool, but I think it's pretty new because it's got things like you create this and you create this with CloudFormation, but there's no way to make them talk to each other. Like not like if you did normal CloudFormation in the cloud, because it's like the Jam itself is, I'm ranting now, but it's a larger conversation, but it has created some headaches this week, but it'll be very cool in the end. It's occupied all my time.
Yeah. Didn't you have to get it done, I think, for AWS by a specific time?
Today. I'm doing this instead. I hope nobody from AWS is watching this. They'll be like, what the heck's that guy doing, man? He hasn't submitted his thing yet.
Nice. Yeah. Thanks for coming on the show on such a short deadline. For me, it's the long weekend. So I have today off.
Oh, so you're out partying last night?
Yeah, a little bit. That's why the intro is a little rough. Yeah, so I have today off, going to Montreal for a long weekend, and then back to work on Tuesday. So
nice. That's sweet. I'm a little jealous of that. So, well, we should crack onward and upward because we want to release you.
Let's do it. We're starting off with a funny, little lighthearted humor for the Friday.
This was posted by Dennis Code. It's a minute and a half, and I think it's a little bit too much to ask you to watch the whole thing. But the link is in the notes. And if you just kick it off, it's like a minute. I don't know how much work these things take, because you've got to storyboard this stuff out, think about what you want it to be, and then you've got to mentally, because there's no noise, you've got to be like, they figured out your infrastructure. You got to do your Seinfeld.
So what's your plan? Massively distributed. Whole new approach. Yeah. Service mesh.
That's exactly your face when someone says service mesh.
Yeah. Multi-tiered service mesh. Oh my gosh.
Anyway, it's hilarious.
On another note, since service mesh got brought up, and I always have a bone to pick with it. We've been on a couple of calls where people are asking about like layer 7 network protocols and DDoS and things like that. And it's very interesting how a lot of people ask for it, but they don't realize how heavy that is in Kubernetes.
Oh yeah.
And how much maintenance, like it's a lot more to add on. So you better be very specific about where it is. Anyways, way to make the funny a serious topic. But
well, I mean, there's a reason why this is so stupid, is because he's just like one dude, just me.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you need anybody to maintain it? Nope, it's in the cloud.
Yeah.
It's excellent. That is that's like all the problems in 1 minute and 20 seconds. So go check it out. It's very funny. If you've never heard of Seinfeld and you're like, what is this show? Come on.
Yeah, grow up.
No, yeah, grow up a lot.
Yeah.
Hey, all right.
Yeah, the more serious
stuff. All right, let's not messing around here. So you added this. My immediate bone to pick was the words "from now on."
Yeah, as if it wasn't there. I also think it's a little biased because it's 77% of security leaders, right? Which obviously it's their job. They see the day in work, right? Security is one of those, let's say, thankless jobs where if everything's running smoothly, everybody's doing their job, you don't really care that much about security. It's always just seen as a hamper to development. And then, your security leaders are the ones that see the constant people trying to breach your infrastructure. So I just thought it was funny. 82% believe geopolitics and cybersecurity are intrinsically linked. That I definitely agree with.
Well, and this is another one of these things that we often do, is we reverse the number and go, who are these 18%?
Yeah.
Really? Geopolitics and cybersecurity? Really? Nah, come on. Those were the Russian and North Korean respondents.
Yeah, I wonder. No, it is true. I mean, the more everything goes to the cloud, the more everything is sort of centralized. It's a lot different when everybody had their own private servers and infrastructure, right? You had to know a little bit more about how to access it. Scanning the internet now, if I go after Google, they have a lot of customers. So it's kind of a one-spot shop, if that makes sense.
One-stop attack vector.
Attack.
Yeah, super complicated attack vector. Yeah, but I think it's very funny. I just think the numbers are like, what was the other one? 64% believe they may have already been the target, of which 63 of the 64%, I don't know if it's of the 64%, had no idea whether they've been pwned or not. So those numbers are very close to each other.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure I've been pwned, but only 1% goes, yep, I have been. I know for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Golang has malware. You dropped this one. I thought it was really interesting.
I did. I've been booted out. There we go. I like the creativity of some of the malware developers. The idea that you think you're downloading. Are you downloading actual pictures, or were they just dubbed as JPEGs? And it turns they were actually base64 encoded baddies.
That's a good question. I'm assuming, it looks like it was an image file that was .jp, that was the JPEG, and it was base64 encoded payload.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can't hide all that. It was just a payload, right? And then anyway, it undoes it. You use a cert utility to decode the binary into this update file, which then flies under the radar, because it looks like Microsoft stuff. But really, it's written in Go. And that was the most interesting thing, is the idea, both amazing and shocking, that malware developers have finally worked out that, hold on, there's a compiled language that runs everywhere. What the?
Maybe we should exploit this.
maybe we should write our malware in that.
Yeah.
It's like the cloud native community has only been doing it for 7 years.
Yeah, it goes harder
So,
to reverse engineer too.
yeah,
So,
and that is called out in here as well, which is
oh,
I think it is. I think it's called out in here. Yeah. Oh, I like the last comment there, which I'll zoom in here. Is like using a legitimate image to build the Golang language cert util is not very common. Therefore, it's very difficult for them to detect. So it's like, it keeps the malware people busy. That's for sure.
yeah. No kidding. All right, we have a bunch of breaches in the WTF section coming up. You ready?
Oh yeah.
Let's do it.
Dun dun dun! It's always them. It's always, and you always give me a hard time because I use LastPass.
Yeah, this wasn't as bad. I think it's just following the EU guidelines. They said that their development environment, it seemed like there was an unauthorized party that gained access to portions of LastPass. Well, it didn't seem like they gained access to any specific data. I think they had to disclose it. Obviously, as a security company, I guess we could say, for all your passwords and all that jazz, it doesn't look good for the marketing team. I'll say that.
Well, I'm going to throw the counterpoint on there, and I'm going to say, having a developer, let's say you probably got socially engineered or something, right? And therefore they managed to get a developer account. This is good for LastPass, not for marketing, because the general world will think, oh no.
Yeah.
But from the security analysis of this is that they got access to a developer account and could do nothing with it. Yep. I think that is awesome.
Correct.
Because they're saying, did they get anywhere? No. Could they do this? No. Could they access? No. Nothing got accessed, but we have to tell you about it. I think that's actually probably because they've been breached before and they've now got awesome security. But I think that's actually a complementary to LastPass. So there.
Yeah. And no, I think it's a great point. And they even have a whole list of FAQs. Has the master password been compromised? No. And very rarely do you see something that's this in depth. I think for a lot of hacks, sometimes they're wanting to shush it. This is pretty candid. So
yeah,
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt here. It's a good job.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. And all right, switching gears over to yours. Boom.
Yeah, this one is a little bit different. So Twilio breach let hackers gain access to Authy two-factor accounts. This is part of a larger couple of breaches that we're going to talk about. But yeah, there it is. Threat actor gained access to its infrastructure on August 4th. Has also accessed accounts of 93 Authy users. It doesn't look like it's necessarily Twilio's issue, more whatever they use for two-factor that got hacked. But I saw this article, and then if you go to the next one, I thought it was also funny.
Bang.
Twilio wasn't the only one. So there's this Octopus cyber attackers set up a well-planned spear phishing effort that affected 130 orgs beyond Twilio and Cloudflare, including DigitalOcean, DoorDash, MailChimp.
Yep, it's a big deal. It's huge.
Yeah. So I didn't want to focus on Twilio so much as to say that when you get these organizations like a two-factor org, it's just why supply chain is going to matter. I think a lot more. Vacuuming nearly 10,000 sets of Okta and two-factor authentication credentials. As social engineered, right?
Yep. So Okta and two. So what's your take on this? So they launched supply chain attacks on downstream customers, resulting in firms like DigitalOcean and DoorDash becoming secondary victims, which is kind of the whole weakest link in the chain scenario here. Is that the only two downstream they're talking about, though? That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, it looks like they did it all in one go. And so they probably had some sort of phishing attack for people who work at the companies or worked at Okta, Authy, whatever the company was, managed to gain access to some specific credentials for the actual customer accounts and then use that to go into the different customers all at one time.
Nice.
That was my take on it.
Yeah, it's not.
Right.
It wasn't explained to me super clear because it's like, how do you get two-factor? The whole point of two-factor is that you can't get both.
Yeah.
So how does that work? I don't know.
Yeah, and I like how they call it out. Despite using low-skill methods, the group was able to compromise a large number of well-known organizations. Right. This is one of those cases where two-factor, if you're breaking a two-factor, that's mostly on the human error for not setting it up properly and giving away too much information.
That's like people who have two-factor on apps they use that can only be accessed through their phone, and the two-factor is sending a message to your phone. It's not two-factor.
That's a good point. Yeah. But yeah, that's it's a pretty big attack. It hasn't received a ton of news, but
No.
it's another supply chain attack.
It is again another supply. Yes, yeah, you're right. I don't know. It didn't cross my path and cross yours. Generally, that qualifies as not enough press.
Yeah.
All right.
The last one was really funny. You put this one in, and I still. Where's Corey Quinn when you need him?
Boom. Well, he gets called out in here.
Does he?
Yeah, he's in one of the things below. Matt Fuller. Matt Fuller is now working. I can't remember where he works now. I think it's at the payment company that everybody uses.
Working at Stripe.
Yeah, there it is. Stripe. Used to work at CloudSploit. Therefore, I used to work with him at Aquasec. Super duper smart guy. Always does. He is the source of our bingo card that we occasionally use when we're assessing companies.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he made that. And so only 200K takes the cake. AWS Cloud. Years of issues like this don't enforce, accusing AWS of not enforcing MFA when signing up. You can't set budget when signing up. And can't you use all of your ML flags? So then there's just comments that go. And now the problem is when I saw this, the comment, there you go. First one, bing.
Yeah.
First call out. How do we get this changed at AWS? It's somehow like, if anyone can change it, you can. And the bat signal.
Pretty ridiculous. 200K.
It is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't really understand that because we don't need any of this in between stuff. I've got limits on mine, and it's like if I spend over $10, I don't spend any money on it, right? And I know on any cloud account if it's getting out of hand pretty quickly. Like, I don't know. I guess I agree.
Yeah,
but I didn't know, like some of the things he was saying was like some of the defaults when you first sign up. None of this is in place, and it's like, why doesn't it just ask you?
Yeah. You know, it's almost like part of the walkthrough when you set up a project should be, do you want to set up billing? What's the limit on this project, right? But again, I think from user experience standpoint, they don't want that. They rather you get in there and start playing with all the services. I do spending money. I really do like the way Google does billing. They've really done a complete overhaul. And when a couple of times when I've had to go spin up a cluster in GCP, it's been awesome. I have like little notifications that'll text me when I spend too much money. So it's nice.
You got it. Well, no, everything I do is in GCP when it's not Civo, because Civo sometimes just crashes on me. So, but generally, yeah, I find of the clouds, GCP is the closest. I saw there was another tweet I didn't put in here. That was somebody, I can't remember who it was. It was somebody famous-ish bashing, saying, "I'm done with AWS. I'm just doing all my stuff on Civo now."
Wow.
And which was a nice little endorsement for Civo. So,
yeah.
Except for the fact that Civo sometimes bombs.
Fair enough. You ready to
maybe just me
spend some money?
Yep, let's go for it.
Let's do it. We have a Canadian company this week.
Oh,
big
which
one.
One's? So you said OpenText is Canadian?
OpenText is based in Waterloo. Yes.
Waterloo.
Yeah. Oh. It's one of our few top 10 companies. We have OpenText. BlackBerry is kind of still up there, weirdly enough, and Shopify.
Yeah, Shopify is a biggie.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyways, get to the announcement. OpenText acquires Micro Focus for $6 billion something.
A lot.
Yeah,
6 billion.
There it
6
is.
billion. That is huge.
Yeah.
And I think we had a conversation, and you were like, "Oh, our Micro Focus security," and I was like, "Hell yeah! Where's the one I was looking for?" Bing, bam. So a while back when I was doing, there we go, Fortify. When I was at Synopsys and we had Coverity and Veracode and all those static analysis tools, Fortify was still on the map, and they were a pain in the backside. They were owned. I feel like they were owned by HP at the time, which is weird, right?
Okay.
And HP sold them off. Fortify was written in like 2002 or some ridiculously early stage by, and I could be getting this wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was written by John Stephen, like a one-man band, who later went on to work for Citadel, who later went on to work for Synopsys.
Okay.
So it's like there's a huge history. It's one of the earliest ever static analysis tools that then became cloud. And so it has like some diehard fans of Fortify who are really annoyed when it got sold to HP, then were super annoyed when it got sold to Micro Focus. But it's still out there, and it's still very much a thing for application security. Hence, it is going to be interesting for people who are using Fortify and have a SASTer application security focus. Boom.
Wow.
That's my take.
I just can't believe OpenText bought them.
Well, that's just it. People who are in app, I'm going, okay, I know Micro Focus, I know Fortify. I'm like, who is OpenText? What a terrible company name. What do they do?
Yeah. So not exactly sure. But I do know that they made a ton of money during COVID in terms of stock price. So I think it might be a little bit of taking some wealth out of those shares, reinvesting it. Now you have a North America and you have a European base, right? Because Micro Focus is based in UK. So you're able to spread the, well, yeah, I mean, now OpenText is one of the biggest software companies in the world, right?
That is it. That is certainly going to probably, I don't know, if checked the stock value since. I bet it has done okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy.
Not for right now, but yeah. I mean, maybe if you're looking for some, I don't know, if you're into that sort of thing.
Yeah, not a lot of startups in the news. It's quiet August. It's towards the end, long weekend coming up. So it's been a slow one. Do have some vulnerabilities for you, and a kind of funny vulnerability too. Right? All right.
Now, what starts with the letter C?
I had to kind of dig deep for this one because it didn't even have a CVSS score yet.
No,
so it's here.
Not a lot of hacks in August. It's been a slow one.
You know, the hackers, they take the kids are off and they take them out to, Ferris amusement parks and stuff. So they take some time off. But this is interesting because we looked through a bunch of the more obscure ones and found like Jenkins Git plugin, like under the radar. Oh, just the Jenkins already. What are you doing, right? You're already in a pool of vulnerability. You're swimming in your own wee. Jenkins Git plugin 4.11.4 and earlier doesn't mask or has, like the way Git does, replace with asterisks credentials in the build log. Like, I don't know, the Git username and password, things like that. Because you're obviously using Git, but somehow you're using Jenkins. So you haven't embraced the world of actions and workflows. You're using your Jenkins, but you got your code in Git, and Jenkins is going, hey, everybody, here's my Git user and password in the log. It's a good thing I'm so secure. Trust me, I'll be fine. So that's a thing if you're using Jenkins and Git.
How long typically do you see exploits come out without a CVSS score? What's the typical time? A week, 2 weeks before they get a score?
Well, days to weeks, but not longer.
Yeah, because this is published 0823 and it's been updated on the 25th. It's now the 2nd of September. It's
still kind of amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unless the page hasn't been, I don't know. Yeah. It's weird. I didn't just Google it. Maybe this page hasn't been updated, and maybe there is a score for it now. But I would have thought this would have been all API driven or something. So
very true.
Yeah, weird.
All right, you got the next one.
Oh hell yeah! We couldn't not do this one, right? Don't let Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation crash your old laptop. How and why this 80s hit song has this effect on older tech. Yeah, so apparently it vibrates at a resonant frequency of 5,400 RPM, which is, of course, if you were a member of the 90s generation, old or young or alive, you probably remember that that number was written right on most hard drives. And so kaboomski, it just melts down hard drives, which was amazing because there's a quote here that says, it destroyed a laptop without the song even playing. And I'm like, that's just wizardry. What?
Wait, what?
There was one of the things here. It said, I read the whole thing, but there's just something where somebody said it destroyed a laptop and the song was not playing at the time, and I'm like, that's full of crap. How? I mean, maybe you couldn't hear it in your speakers, but it was playing somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how could playing Rhythm Nation? I don't know. I what I want to see, there's a video associated with this, and I haven't watched it yet. But what I'm curious now is, what's the moment? What's the 1-2 second snippet of Rhythm Nation that I can do that is going to destroy, the entire world? And I think the important thing now is that we do what we can to find that out. So give me 2 seconds. So here we go.
Bound together through our beliefs.
There she is. This is what I call distributed denial of service across all laptops.
I can't put that on screen for too much longer. But yeah, mechanical resonance. That's a pretty cool.
Oh, come on.
You're listening to it in the background.
Good bit. Laptop is still going.
For those wondering, it's the same issue that caused the Tacoma Narrows Bridge to collapse. Basically, you have the wind at a specific frequency. It causes vibration. There's no dampening effect. So the hard drive spins, starts to wobble and breaks. Right? We're
explaining resonance to the world.
Yeah. That's your TLDR. Nice. I'm pretty sure I screwed it up too.
No, you got it right.
Right.
You got it right. It's the same reason when you fill a little glass with water and you run your finger around the edge and it goes woo. Yep. It's all physics, man. Crazy.
Yeah. Resonance feedback though is more interesting.
Yeah.
Just continues. Anyways, now we have a couple demos. Well, a couple of things we want to talk about. Then we're going to both demo a little RBAC. It's going to be quick. And then we'll let you get on to the rest of Friday. You ready for tool time?
Pow. Let's do it.
Does everybody know what time it is?
Yeah, we have a bunch of tools to demo in the upcoming weeks. So I'm pretty excited.
Well, there's never a shortage of people churning out cool open source stuff. And this first one, we're not going to demo this one. We're just going to talk about it right now, right?
Yeah. We'll get to this probably in the coming weeks. But and again, if there's anybody watching that wants to see a specific open source project, let us know in the comments or comment on the show.
Yeah, and even like SaaS solutions that are free, because we did a few of those too, right? We can just dive in and do the free sample. This is by DevOps Kung Fu, aka DJ Schleen and another dude who I can't remember his name. He's probably on the contributor list, maybe. Yep. But Bomber, you didn't play with it yet, did you? You liked Bomber and you wrote it in the notes because it converts between formats.
Yes, I think that's extremely useful. I really, really dislike this whole SBOM format discussion that's happening right now in the in the space. Nobody really knows which one to adopt. I think SPDX, Cyclone, I forget which one's more thorough. SPDX or Cyclone has kind of a grouping of all three. Anyways, we have to break it down in one of the future shows when we do this. But
I think you're right. That'd be actually a really good, not a tool time, but just a head-to-head SBOM. That'd be a great tool time.
Yeah. But yeah, really cool. So SPDX, Cyclone DX, or SIFT formatted SBOMs, and it can go between all three, apparently.
It does. I'm pretty sure it does that. And what is kind of cool is that it will just scan the SBOM. You don't have to have the POM file or whatever it is you generated the SBOM from. So if you receive an SBOM, I think this is maybe why it's useful. If someone says, here's my open source and here's my SBOM, here's all the stuff that's involved in it, yay, you can run Bomber and you can go blip, and you don't have to have the original source or requirements file or package JSON, and pow, you're just scanning the SBOM itself, which is, I think that's pretty handy. When I first saw it, I'm like, what are you talking about? Almost all the things that generate SBOMs are scanners. But on the receiving end, not so much. So that's actually pretty handy. So look at the different ecosystems it supports, which is a lot. It's pretty solid. OSS index. So it's pretty, it's pretty good. And it only came out, I think it was only announced, I don't want to say 3 days ago, but not long ago, like this month, August. It was actually released, kind of announced by DJ Sheen on his Twitter in August.
Yeah, and actually, very cool. And as I'm going through this, sorry to interrupt. Sift, for example, is a CLI to generate SBOMs based on the project that you're using. So that's another one I think we could dive into if we want to demo it.
We could do a double on that one because both Sift and Gripe are two tools that come from Anchor, and they're pretty handy these days. And they tend to be one of the most defaulted to, kind of like what Trivia gets defaulted to.
Yeah.
In automation. So yeah, that would be actually a pretty cool thing we should look at. Maybe add a bomber combination in there and flip something out of Sift into something else. That'd be a fun SBOM tool time.
For sure.
So a good one.
Yeah, and then you brought up Trivy. So the next one was Lazy Trivy.
Yeah.
That it came across and we're like, oh, this is kind of interesting.
Yeah. Owen Rumney. So you can see, I mean, that tells it all right there. I'm going to zoom in a little bit too.
Yeah.
There you go. That's all you need to know right there. Heavily
that looks
inspired.
so nice.
But yeah, well, lazy Docker, lazy npm, lazy git, anything that's got, when the command arguments get too complicated, and I feel I need to make lazy checkoff because I added checkoff to Fig because of this exact reason, which is the command line spits them all out for you, predictive command line. Whereas this is like this kind of obvious interface that just goes bing, 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 doom, and it's got trivia in the background. So it's pretty flipping cool, and I think probably deserves a 5-minute tool time at some point, and maybe at the same time with all the lazies. So we'll do lazy tool time.
Yeah, when we're having a lazy week,
which is not this week. So,
but
yeah, it's pretty awesome. Check it out. Link below. And then the big finale. Did we do this article last time?
I
This
think
was like the lead.
Yeah, we showcased it. Racine's Rambling, I think, Security Geek, Kubernetes, Docker, Ruby, and Hill Walking does a pretty good breakdown of RBAC complexities, role binding, cluster roles, and cluster role binding. Let's just say I've never liked working with RBAC.
No.
Anything that can give me some sort of visualization as to the what namespaces are being accessed and whatnot is awesome. And so towards the end, list a bunch of third-party tools there: RBAC tool, QBScan, Crane, and RBAC Police. But yes, so
and that's where we went. That's what we springboarded off there, and decided that which way am I going? This way. That we're going to do a little bit of.
Yeah, you're taking RBAC tool, I think, right?
I am taking RBAC tool. I have RBAC. It installs into like a local bin, so I'm going to just kick right off. Is that cool?
Yeah, go ahead. For some reason, I tried to actually install it, and I sent a message to Steve saying, "Oh, my laptop got blocked." So my work laptop actually blocked it because it was specifically downloading and writing to local bin, right, for execution.
Yeah,
and so that tripped the security. He's like, "No, you can't do that." So for anybody watching, if RBAC tool is your project, maybe wrap a binary too, make it a little easier, because there's only 2 ways to install it. It's like either adding it using kubectl, I forget what that program is. Crew.
Use the Crew plugin.
Yeah, the Crew plugin, or the script that you run directly puts it into bin, which is nice, super thoughtful, but also trips the security flags.
Yeah, I mean, normally when you see something that just gets piped to bash, I just do a look at it.
Yeah.
Download the script and then run it myself and tailor it to what I want it to be, because it's like, I'm not just going to run a bash script on here's your security tool. Just run this script on your laptop. Like, okay.
Luckily, it's from Allside, Rapid7, so it's pretty well trusted.
I forgot they were Rapid7 now, which is like, what the? So the easiest way to start, I found with this, is like almost like not necessarily going in order, but if you've got a cluster just sitting there, then you can just kind of, if I can type, I cannot type. There it just runs, and it's in my kube config. So, and I do have something running, and I do have some nasty stuff in there, and I know that, right?
Yeah.
So it just starts listing. Now, we were talking about readability and usability before the show started, and I didn't say anything about this one. It is not the most readable.
No.
But it does go through and say, all right, analysis rules. And it's finding the bad things in the areas that I kind of expected. Like, I have a Kubernetes dashboard, right? there's a reason. It was just because I was demonstrating like why it's a bad idea. And then there's like secret readers, severity high. So it's telling me that I've got the presence of this thing, the service account that it's associated with. So it's firing on bad stuff. If you remember ages ago, I demonstrated the Ingress Nginx problem that allowed me to list all secrets and all everything. Well, I tried to put that back in my cluster, and yay, it spotted that one as well and went, hey, man, you have this Ingress that is like super high and it can read it with this service account. I don't necessarily like that. And then same thing on the Ingress admission critical is like, why is this here? You can do everything with it. So I was pretty happy because I mean, my default analysis, I didn't want to just analyze nothing or a base install. So I jammed some stuff in that I knew would be bad, and ding dong, it did a pretty good job of it. So that was my first thing I did. And then the other thing I did was I was doing a lookup of who can, like the kubectl who can. You can do that. Who can list secrets? That's really bad, right?
Yeah.
And then ding. So all the same ones from above. And then of course I've got all the gatekeepers there. I've got an open gatekeeper in place. So it's showing me all the things and what namespace they're in that have the ability to list secrets. And I think kind of the Ingress Nginx was like, that was a big baddie, but it's good to like look in there and go like, this is when I added it. I'm like, what the hell's that doing there? So I even had some shocks myself playing with it to go, all right, I've got way too many things. I can just list the entire cluster of secrets. I have to do some tidy up. Now, the reason it's all bad is because it is my plaything. It's not accessible.
Yeah.
And I am on a G-Cloud VM at the moment, speaking of G-Cloud earlier. So it's I'm still using the CKS master cluster that I used for my training. It's still running, and it's still very handy. So that, is there anything like you saw in RBAC tool when you read the description that, because I could go through and it does cool things like it generates policies. Like
the RBAC tool viz, I think, was pretty interesting. Kubernetes RBAC visualizer that generates a graph as a .file format or HTML.
Yes, indeed. Where is it? Says
you can render locally or render online. I can give you the command if you're not on the GitHub account.
It's just up here.
Oh, and I'm going to put the GitHub in the chat for anybody watching if you want to. Yeah, I think the visualization aspect was the coolest part. You have the service account, and it has the layers in, at cluster role and at the namespace level.
I didn't think this through. Now I have an HTML that I can't look at because I'm on a server.
Yeah.
Idiot. Well, there it is.
Yeah. So for those wondering, if you go to the GitHub, you'll see it's a little graph kind of that just showcases sort of the top sysadmin, let's say, aspects, and it goes down. It's like I don't know what the technical word is for that chart. It's like all bubbles, and it goes down and shows what assets they have access to. Anyways.
Yeah, I didn't think that through when I was doing this on a remote VM, that I wouldn't then be able to see the RBAC. But this is on a Kubernetes cluster, so I can probably, if you show us RBAC police, by the time you come back to me, I'll be able to have that thing visualized.
Okay, because I mean, RBAC police is pretty quick and easy. I have some feedback for you because it is actually a Apollo project, which I didn't realize when I first started playing around with it. But let me bring it up for everyone watching at home. All right. I think this is the right one. We'll see. Maybe not. Maybe not. So, okay, this is this one. For those wondering, actually, here, I'll show you the, I love fire alarms. Oh, it's going to get super serious now. So for the RBAC tool, this is RBAC tool viz. So Kubernetes RBAC visualizer generates graph as a .file format or HTML format. Here's what it looks like. That's what I was trying to get Steve to figure out.
Well, I generated in a dot format, and I can't look at that one either. So
yeah, so there's that one, and then there's RBAC police. This is a pretty straightforward Go project. My understanding is that it's using OPA policies underneath, and basically just a simple binary. They have a 1.0 release, just came out. Go build. You're evaluating. So when it runs RBAC Police, it's using your kubectl config file, reaching out to your cluster, basically doing a kubectl get all service accounts, the cluster role bindings, and then evaluating against the specific policy library that is built in to the CLI. So pretty simple. You can look at specific namespaces. You can look at specific nodes. You can ignore control plane, which I think is pretty useful because let's say, well, with something like OpenShift and the operators it installs, ignoring the control plane aspects are kind of nice. But yeah, hold on. I got to switch screens to get to my terminal. I think it's this one. We're going to try that. All right. And again, so here's my bone to pick. Let's say I run that first command, that RBAC police evaluate against lib, and I want to alert on the high critical issues. One, it takes a while. So I actually just ran it, and you can see the output. I don't want to, I think I ran it when you were speaking, and it took a good 30 seconds. But what I can show you is it evaluated 23 role bindings, cluster role binding service accounts. 15 failed, 8 passed. Okay, well, what do I know? Like what passed, what failed? I'm just scrolling through JSON.
It's just JSON. Pipe it to a JK. Not easier.
Yeah, I mean, sure, could. But for the average person that's going through this, like, what are we doing?
Is it just designed to be machine consumable? Is that the idea?
And that's kind of the point. There's no visualization. It just seems like if you look at it, there's a couple commands like RBAC collect and RBAC expand. So one of the other things that is kind of useful is you can collect it, put it into a JSON, and then expand it, and it kind of shows it like this. But again,
okay, yeah.
I think this is more of a small tool that can be plugged into a larger tool, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't really think this is consumable for the average user, really useful for going through formats and trying to figure out what your policies are. Yeah.
So you're making my interface look amazing.
Yeah. The only thing is you can write custom policies. So there's a, on GitHub, it shows you how to write a custom policy in Go and implement it. So the nice thing would be if you wanted to, let's say, incorporate RBAC specific rules into your security tool, let's say you're a StackRox or something like that, and you don't have that, you could just take this library, implement a couple policies, and add it. So I think that was the core use case for this tool. It's not really usable for the average person. It's more, hey, here's our open source aspect of Rapid7 for RBAC policies. They push it out, a little upstream contribution, and this is basically the library that they use in their product. That makes sense.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So you want
this is Paolo's project, not Rapid7, but you said that you might know who works on this project, right?
Yeah. Well, I know what feeds it.
Okay.
There's one of the guys who works with us is generating RBAC policies for Chekhov. And so I think they tend to go off and do their own thing. Like we're not. But I think a lot of the same rules that are going into there are going into ours, like simultaneously. With the idea that I guess we're hoping ours is more readable. That would be useful.
Sounds good. But yeah, it's very anticlimactic, a lot of JSON, and the actual policies, what it's evaluating for, aren't extremely clear, right? It's just kind of evaluating /lib versus something like kubelinter that we've demoed. It has those 20 policies. They're in a config file. You can kind of list them out and, use a -- to specifically call them. It's a little bit more transparent about what you're evaluating against. Right.
Okay. Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Did you manage to get the HTML file working?
I'm just checking. I think you might need to excuse me for 2 seconds while I turn a certain VPN off. If I don't get a little wild and crazy with things, because I'm Definitely for anybody from Palo Alto Networks watching, not circumventing any form of security at all. Everything's good. I'm all fine. You're all fine. Let's try that.
All for the visualization.
All just for flipping visualization. It's important that we do these things.
Yeah, there were 2 other projects that were listed in that page. Cubiscan. I'm not sure if we've done a demo on Cubiscan before, have we?
I feel like we did do that one.
Okay.
But a while ago.
Yeah, and there's Crane. So Crane's RBAC static analysis and visualization tool. So that's another one
That never done that one. So
yeah, that's it actually is pretty cool. If you want to go to the GitHub account and check it out.
Well, maybe we'll save that one for the next time we do RBAC. I think
Sure.
For some reason this is just being a raw pain in the backside. Oh,
Yeah, no worries.
Crane.
Yeah, I'm just showing Crane this other one. So Crane indexes RBAC entities in a Redis graph and allows you to query a network of dependencies efficiently, simply using a subset of CipherQL supported by Redis graph,
Ooh.
which I think is pretty cool. You get a scope cluster wide. You can see all the roles, see the rules, see your PSPs, which is deprecated now.
But that's
Watch out,
beside the point.
Yeah, that would suck. Imagine like building that feature in for PSP specifically, and then oh yeah, by the way, in a year this is gone.
Oh, come on. A year in our world is like dog years.
True. Still, I'd hate to be the developer finding that one out. All right, Steve.
Hey, hold on. It's coming.
Turns off his VPN. Everything works. It's a first. Hey. Oh, look at that. That's an interesting view.
It's not necessarily browser friendly.
You don't say. Okay, so you see the service account, then you can see the dashboard, and yeah, wow, that's
It's pretty cool, but it's like this weird branding across the top is not
helping.
So this is the namespace. Pod security policy. It is kind of it's all right. Let's be blunt. It's pretty ropey, but I don't know. But it's sort of okay. Maybe the ping is better. I don't know. Let's just take a look. I think the ping is there somewhere too. All right. So at least this is, we can navigate it sorta. This is what the ping generated. View, like it's just insecure. Dashboard, service account. It's cool actually. Like it's hard to generate visuals and not have them suck.
Yeah. Especially with some of the outputs that you get from kubectl.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little kind of chonky wonky, but it's good.
Yeah.
I think if you could somehow make that into something that was a little bit more, I don't know, adaptive to the screen size.
Yeah.
Because I don't imagine that does to get too complicated where that's just not viewable.
That's our feedback. Get some. I mean, honestly, it's a great start. There's not a lot of good visualizations for RBAC and cluster rules in general.
Yeah, I had to get rid of that quick because they're wondering how I did that. I did a Python simple HTTP web server on the VM. Yeah. I opened up a port real quick, and then that gives you full access to my file system. So I just went blip blip. Here it is. Bye. Kill the file. Kill it.
Nice.
Anyway. Security professionals, it's all good here.
Yeah, it's a Friday. Hopefully nobody at your company's watching. Be all right. Yeah.
It's all fine. So there we go. That is totally good. Check it out. RBAC tool, very promising for I mean, even from command line feedback, I thought it was pretty good. I didn't check to see if it had a JSON output. It probably does, but I think it's worth a look more than maybe the one you suggested.
Yeah. In hindsight, I should have done the Crane or something like that. Had a little bit more functionality there, but we got a bunch coming up. So we could do Bomber. I think Akinox is another one that I have an open source tool I was interested in taking a look at. And if anybody has any other ideas, throw them in the chat. Message on YouTube.
Yeah, for sure. I think other than that, I think that's good. That went longer than we thought it was going to.
It did. Yeah. But it's a long weekend now. So next Friday, we'll see you here, same time, 10 a.m., 3 p.m. GMT. Steve, any last words?
I was going to be away next week at the Open Source Summit in Dublin, but turns out the people who approve these sorts of holidays these conferences that are absolutely essential, were away. So I'm home. I'm going to be doing some meetups and stuff. So I'll be here to do this episode and demonstrate shit.
Awesome. Until next time, I'm Mike Foster.
I'm Steve Jaguar.
Have a good Friday.
Out of here.